Hi, I'm Keith Robinson, and I'd like to play two Tuba Etudes for you. These are for the Region 11 tryouts. I'd like to start with Tuba Etude number 2 in F in 2/4 time. I'm going to set the metronome at 80. You may want to check with your band director how fast or how slow to play this, but I would certainly suggest that you only play it as fast as you can play it your very best. Now I'd like to talk just a little bit about Tuba Etude number 2. I'm going to turn the music around, and I'd like my wife Nelwyn to zoom in on it a little bit. And you'll notice right down here, looks like measure 7, 8, 9, 10. I've marked in a decrescendo, and I think that works really nicely with and then a crescendo leading into the forte, because we have each one of these is called a sequence, and as you play each sequence it gets lower in pitch, and so it's very good for it also, I think, to get lower, softer in volume as well. And then it comes back up and we build to this forte. Same thing happens down here after measure 16, 17, 18, 19. Looks like a little bit of a decrescendo into the high C, low C, and then that sets up this nice big forte here at the end. Make sure that as you're playing these 16th notes all the way throughout, but let's take just these first 4 measures, make sure that your air is always doing this. And your tongue is doing this. So your tongue is creating the notes, but your air is constantly gushing as your tongue is doing the work. Let's look at the slower etude. This is the etude that you probably have been working with the whole band, the slow unison etude. I'm not going to turn the metronome on because there are a couple places where I like to put a slight pause, going from measure 4 into measure 5, and then also going from measure 29 into measure 30. Metronome is set at 80. I'm going to turn it off because of those measures I was talking about. And listen especially for breathing and for some dynamic things that I have added and changed just a tiny bit. I'm going to turn my music around again. And I'd like to point out a few things that I've added. For instance, in the second measure, I've added a crescendo leading into the third measure, and I've marked it as forte so that as you're trying to get up to these high notes, that you're really using lots of air, and that will help you just a little bit. And then we decrescendo down from that. And then, just a minute please, Jill. It's good to see you, sweetie. Could you walk outside for just a minute? Thank you. And then, that was my daughter, and then you'll notice down here in measure 15, a crescendo with a decrescendo, and that just adds a nice musical element to it. And I love this note right here. This G sharp is probably my favorite note in the whole piece. And so I think a starting mezzo forte and then a crescendo to that G sharp, and then decrescendoing from it to a mezzo piano is a really nice touch. And then we're back to the mezzo forte, which is the same volume that we had started that section of the music in. Now over here I've added another forte, crescendo to a forte with a decrescendo just like we did before. And then at the end, to set up this crescendo, I've added a mezzo forte with a decrescendo so that we have some place to go from here. Make sure that you get a big giant breath here so that you can hold out that whole note. Remember that whole note is in a slower tempo because of the ritardando here, so that's going to last longer than maybe you think. I'd like for you to kind of look through the whole thing and check where the breath marks are. I think those are really great spots for breaths, and you see like these two are close together. That's because we need that from the end of this phrase to make it to the next breath. So some breaths are about 2 measures apart, and sometimes I'll put an extra breath in here or there to help you through a phrase, help me through a phrase as well. I hope this helps. Good luck to you, and I wish you the best on your tryouts and in your playing tuba. I've enjoyed it. I hope that you have also. Thank you.